Good afternoon, everyone. So, I represent Domineum Blockchain Solutions. We have a partnership with Base University to set up and run a blockchain consultancy unit where people will be trained on blockchain skills and incubate students here in this school to the point where they will be able to start having startups that are built around the blockchain. So today, my name is Calistus Igwilo, and I'm the tech lead for Domineum blockchain. So I want to take us through a little bit of history to see how we got to the blockchain. There has been recorded evidence that data way back were etched on horns, animal horns. They use them to write data on them and store. We know about the Egyptian hieroglyphics, where they do writings on the wall. That's way far back. But the earliest recorded incidents we have in this course, this workshop, we're going to look at the key components of the blockchain and how the technology actually works and how you can apply it. So back to the history I was talking about. Yeah, in 1663, John Grant, he was looking at medical records in London, in London hospitals and in the churches. And he was able to start connecting dots. He made a table of age of people, their gender, and with that, he made the first table ever recorded. And here, it's called the table of casualties. And he was able to use it to predict population growth in London. So that was way back in 1663. Then we move forward. Okay. When in the US they had the census in 1880, they produced so much data that humans were finding it difficult to crunch those data. And that led to Herman Hollerith to produce this machine with which they can read punch cards. So, because the volume was so large, human beings the people working their head, they couldn't, the census people couldn't crunch those data. Led to making this machine. What it does actually is to read the punch cards. And then we move on also to in 1928, that was the first time information was recorded on a magnetic disk. In fact, that kicked off the era of what we call the digital information age, because information was etched on magnetic disk then. And then in 1960, we have Joseph Licklider. He imagined that there can be an intergalactic computer system where you don't have to own your justice in your side, but you can access data from anywhere, anytime, and anyhow you want. That's the precursor of the modern computing we call the cloud, because these days, you don't own most of the application you run, they don't run on your machine. They run somewhere, you just need an interface to get into them and run it. And that's how all they move. Yes. And we know about the modern internet that Tim Berners-Lee, he was the one that wrote the code for the internet we have today. In fact, recently, that was last month, he sold this code, I'm not sure exactly, about close to $5 something million. He made an NFT of the original code he used to make this. I sold it for 5 point something million USD, using the correct blockchain technology. So that happens in the 1990s. And with internet came explosion of data, to the point that we need new tools to be able to search those data. And we had Google in 1997. What happened next is we have so much good going on. It now enabled us to be able to store data in data centers and then in the cloud. So, and now we have more. You have IoTs everywhere. Your wearables. In the farm, you have sensors in the farm. They are monitoring the pH level. They are monitoring the humidity. And they're sending all those data back into your central unit by processing them. So it is estimated that every day, 306.5 billion emails and 500 million tweets are done almost every day. 95 million photos and videos are shared every day on Instagram. And 1.7 megabytes of data is created every second by every person that's involved in it, using the internet. And in the last 2 years, 90% of the world's data has been created. Now, 2.5 trillion bytes of data are produced every day. And 463 exabytes of data will be generated each day by humans by 2025. So what we have now, we have an explosion of data from all sources. So we are looking at how best can we manage this data. Not just managing them, but managing in such a way that the integrity is there, they are immutable, and they serve the purpose for which we actually make them for. And that leads to the new technology what we call the blockchain. A technology that enables us to store information in a decentralized manner, so that you don't even need a central authority anywhere. You could have peer-to-peer communication with people. Next slide, please. So what is the blockchain? Simply put, the blockchain is defined as a shared immutable ledger. Now, if you look at the diagram there, we have 4 nodes, A, B, C, and D. And by those nodes, you have a small ledger of that. What happens is that node A can talk to node C without minding B and A. And node D can talk directly to node B. So anybody can talk to each other. And there is no central person organizing what happens. It's peer-to-peer. That will happen. So assets are defined as a value that requires accountability and ownership. So for anything that requires accountability and requires ownership, blockchain is a very big tool to solve that. And the examples are there already. We have cryptocurrencies, we have real estate. Real estate you just want to know. Are you up to 16 years? Information about you is owned by you. So it's done such that, of course, there will be the authorizing units. People, let's say, the issuer, I'll give an example, maybe the federal government being the issue of that. And they issue you your ID. Now, when you come to the school, as far as it's all about, are you up to 16? You get your tool, you check you have your wallet on your phone. You go there, scan through it. Oh, it's 18. That's all. All the university need to know is that we trust this issuing institution like the federal government is trusted, and that's all it. So you keep your data, your medical record, your history. You go to a hospital. Oh, there are certain things you want to be private. So blockchain allows us to make identity in such a way that any party that wants it can have it without, and you can also revoke that information and that detail for the person at any time. So they don't actually store it. They only know this condition is met, therefore pass. And that's what blockchain will offer. So how did it all start? The blockchain was actually created for the Bitcoin. That's what happened. It was meant to solve problem of spending money, of payments, micropayments that does not involve a central party. That's how it all started. But as we can see, it has moved beyond that. It has gone to finance, it has gone to healthcare, it has gone to government, like I just said, maybe IDs, and manufacturing, your distribution. Let's say now we have the COVID vaccine going on. You have a jab. How did it get to? That vaccine that you have, how did it travel? Is it the right one? Was it a museum somewhere? With the blockchain, you can actually track everything from all the companies that went into making that vaccine to the supply chain and say, oh, I can say this actually may be Azeta or Pfizer, and this is correct. So it now has a huge implication other than before. In Bitcoin, the big part is the data, and the coin there is the money. That was what it was initially meant for. But now it has gone beyond that. So here is it. In 2009, a mysterious guy showed up. He's anonymous. He only called his name Satoshi Nakamoto. He is the one that introduced a white paper upon which this was built. Up till now, there's no official identity of who he is. Some arguments say maybe there are three people. But at the time, I think there was a time the CIA, they did some work. They're trying to say who is, because this guy, he made so many posts, so many emails. So what they did, they gathered all the emails he had ever made, every data they have about him. They broke it down into, I think, maybe 500 emails or so. And we have to make 50 points from all of that, using some mathematical, stuff. It's just pure mathematics. So they were able to crunch all the data and came up with what they call a fingerprint. What the fingerprint does is, with that fingerprint, whenever they put it through all the data moving, they say, this is who he is. But up to now, we don't know. Is it one person, three people? Nobody knows yet. Go on. But here was the paper that started everything. And if you look at it, I highlighted the first point of the first part. It said, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payment to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. And that's the crux. That's what makes the blockchain what it is. There is no central authority. Next slide. And how will it achieve this? It uses what they call the timestamp server. There's a timestamp on every transaction. Actually, in Satoshi, he quoted, there's a journal he quoted, a paper. That paper did work on timestamp. So originally, what has been done and laid the foundation for blockchain, but he's the one that now gathered everything together and put out there for us. And here you can see different blocks. There's a timestamp on it. And what the timestamp proves that the data must have existed at the time, obviously, in order to get to the hash. Each timestamp includes the previous timestamp in its hash, forming a chain with each additional timestamp reinforcing the one. So it is a chronology that you cannot go back and change. Next slide, please. And what this enables, like we say, is peer-to-peer transfer, irrespective of where you are in the world. Imagine the normal currency system, banking system we have. You want to send some money to someone in the UK, maybe in the US. You go through you have the intermediary banks, and it takes 5 days because somebody in the center has to do that. But with the blockchain, you remove all those things. I can, the guy out there in North America can talk to the guy in Africa. He can talk to the guy in Asia without anybody being the intermediary of that. That's what it enables us to do. But think about it. Now that there's no central authority, how do you ensure? How do we build trust? Because in a normal transaction, when you send money here and you are trusting your CBN, for instance, they're going to deliver that. But when we remove that paper, nobody's looking at it. How do we build that trust? So it's three things. The blockchain is set up such that for anything that goes through it, any transaction that goes through it, that transaction will be validated. When I say validate, what it means is, let's say you're supposed to send 4.5, let's say 5,000 naira to somebody, and you send, but you only have 4,900. Well, that transaction will not go through because it's not valid. So for any transaction you have to do, first of all, it be valid. It could be that when you are 16 years old, therefore you can do so stuff. And when you are not that trying to do it, it won't go through. So number one is that the transaction must be valid. In fact, in the programming language of the blockchain, which we call Solidity, the common one, it's you have to specify everything down to the data type, down to the maybe is it an integer or UInt. There's no room for ambiguity. In Python, for instance, you could write a program where A plus B is that, and you don't look at it, oh, I know what you're saying, you just compute it for you, even though you didn't say all the data. But here, everything has to be exact. And not just that you validate it, you have to verify. Okay, it's valid, one, past that stage. The next stage is you verify it. How has it been? I showed you the timestamp before because that's what keeps record of what goes on. That's a timestamp. And each timestamp, each of them refers to the one before it. So it's a shame. If something happens, say, no, this is no more it. So they have to verify. And when you have verified that it's correct, it's still not enough. There have to be consensus. In the first diagram I showed where you have, let's say we have 4 people in a room, and I made a transaction with one of them, let's say with Abia, and we wrote something. Okay, I'll pay you 10,000, and he agreed. I wrote it in. I write it down. He also wrote it down. Only the two of us. One thing can happen. I could go back and change my own from 5 to 10,000. He said, no, you wrote 5. I said, well, I wrote 10, right? There's confusion. So what happens is, when we both of us write out this thing, we'll now send it to another person, another party. Hey, look at what we agreed on. And the third person will write it down in his own ledger. And so everybody will look at it, okay, that is correct. So if I go and change my data, I will come back, and say, no, I have the original. So the consensus will be that this has been tampered with. So that's why I'm talking about consensus there. Nice. Okay. Okay, now continue. Next slide, please. And next. Okay. All right. Can you read here? So let's look at how this happened actually. So in a Bitcoin blockchain, the major unit of operation is what we call transaction. It's in the Bitcoin blockchain. So we have different blockchains. We have the Ethereum blockchain, we have the Solana, we have the Algorand, we have the BSV, right? So we're looking at in the Bitcoin blockchain. The major unit of anything there is a transaction. So when a transaction happens, it's validated and broadcast through the whole peer. It could be hundreds, thousands of nodes. All of them will get a copy of that and look at it. Now, if you look at the diagram there, in that diagram, you have 3 blocks, 3 nodes there. So what happens is that when transactions keep happening, let's say 1, 2, 3, up to 400, 500 different transactions, they will keep stacking up together. When you reach like 500, you think to a ledger. Okay. So when they get, let's say, 500, they'll be written down in a ledger. And that's the ledger is called a block. But what happens is that there is a hash. All those things that are written there in computer science, that's what we call hashing. See what it does. In those days, you download software, and you don't know, is this software really does have a Trojan? Have they messed with it? So what software producers do, when they write their software, they will do a hack, they will hash that software. What it means is that it converts all those things into a numeric code that represents that data. So they'll send the software to you along with the hash. Now, when you get that, you also check the hash. If you correspond to what the vendor sent to you, it's in fact nothing has happened to it. So that's what we call hashing. Maybe if I write one page of document and do a hash, if you go back and put a dot in that document and hash it, you have a different thing, showing that this has changed. So this is how Bitcoin achieves its goal. So a block takes about 1 megabyte. That's why I have a block, 1 megabyte, and it takes about 500 unique transactions in it. So when it gets filled up, it's hashed. Then the next block will continue. And when the next block finishes, it will have a copy of the hash of the previous block before it. So it continues like that. That's why we call it blockchain, because they're all chained together. Actually, there's no block anywhere. It's just a ledger where you write things. A gave me B, and this gave me that, and this gave me that. That's what happens in it. Next slide, please. Okay. Initially, I thought we'll be able to have a practical session when I prepare this, just so we can go and look at the blockchain and see real time what happens in it. But I don't have access to that right now. We just looked at that. If you look at the diagram there, the image there is a blockchain explorer. So what it does is it can explore any blockchain, whether Ethereum or Bitcoin blockchain. So when you send a transaction through the blockchain, you can see real time what's going on there. Remember, there's something about the blockchain. It is very open. It's public. So if you go to Explorer, you can see all the transactions going on in real time. Sometimes you hear that a whale has moved 10 Bitcoin. How do they know? Because it's there live, everybody can see. You can even write some program that when so thing moves, it tells you this has moved. In fact, if somebody knows your address, let's say your Bitcoin address, for instance, you can just go to the Explorer and look at it. Oh, this guy has so amount. It's public, it's a public stuff for the Bitcoin blockchain. And in this one we are looking at first, we see a single transaction, and that's a hash. Those hash are the inputs we have. Blockchain and Bitcoin blockchain try to maintain the state of the transaction. In a regular banking, for instance, all you should check is what's your balance. So let's say you have 10,000. Somebody put 2,000. The important is that you have 7,000, right? That's a normal bank. In the Bitcoin, it stores the state of that transaction. So if I want to make payment of, say, 10,000 naira to somebody, I have received 2,000 before, I received 9,000 again, right? So I have 11,000. I want to pay you 10,000. What it does, if you take those two inputs you have, those 2,000 and 9,000, join them together, that's 11,000. If you now create two transactions, in that two transactions, if you only pay that person the amount you needed, the second one will return to me. So that's how the Bitcoin works. So you can see a single transaction, because the input have 1, 2, 3 different transactions that came together to form one single output. So you see why application of Bitcoin is very important. You can trace anything. You can go back. And remember, in a regular ledger, you can decide tomorrow, you go and wipe record. But in the blockchain, you cannot wipe any record. It's written there, it's written there. It's open, it's honest. Anything that went through there, you can go back in time and say, this is what happened. And that's why it has very good use, for instance, supply chain management, right? Where you have a consortium of maybe, let's say, Google, Amazon, Alibaba. They come together, they have a particular consortium. And that consortium, they use it for their supply chain. So they'll be sure that, yes, this product actually emanated from this place and went through that. and it's the correct thing you're getting because of how it was designed. Okay. All right, next slide. Okay, this is interesting. I just brought up that for us to see what we call the block zero. In the Bitcoin blockchain, block zero is the first one that Satoshi Nakamoto did by himself. It's called the block zero. So when you go back maybe on your own and you want to look at the blockchain, you see different blocks. You can say 5,000, 6,000. It's just telling you at what point are we? All those ledgers that you saw, they are up to like say 7,000, just like that. But the first one, what we call the Genesis block, is the block zero. And that was the first transaction that happened by Satoshi. And he got a reward of 50 USD on that. $15, yeah. Every 4 years, okay, I'll come to minus. Let's give me the next slide, please. Okay, still the basic operation. I talked about, it will validate your transaction. It will gather all the transactions and form a block. When it's up to one block, it puts it there. It will then broadcast it to all the nodes. And there has to be a consensus. And let me say this, when we say consensus, that's what we call mining. I'll just explain because you're going to hear about it. So what happens is this. Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain is set up such that there's a reward for doing a work. We call it proof of work. See how it happens. So it has a complex mathematical problem that requires serious computing power to solve. Now, all the computing nodes, everyone will try to solve that problem. Whoever solved that problem first and got it right, say, hey, I got it, I have the right to form a block. And because you are the first person to solve the problem, it's okay, go ahead and form the block. So it is that node that will form that block, then broadcast it on the network. In compensation for forming the block, is paid a fee. And that's what we call the mining fee. So when you hear Bitcoin miners, China recently they were cracking down on their miners, right? So what they do is they'll have a farm, a very big farm with machines, and they'll be doing all this computational work. And for everyone they get, they are paid. That's how they make their money. Now they are moving to, they are moving away from that place now to some other places that support them. So, and that's the whole issue of saying that it's energy intensive. If you've been listening to news recently, Elon Musk was the first person that said that. He mentioned that, we will not have to do with Bitcoin because it's, no. He mentioned something about, the environment. The cost of mining this into the environment is high, which is not the energy consumption. Apart from that proof of work, we have another one we call the proof of stake. So in this case, you are not using computational power to solve the block. It's a matter of who has more stake. Because if you have more stake in something, you cannot go to subvert the system. So that one is not power consuming like this other one we have. And those are the operations that go. And here, I'll show you in the diagram what exactly happens. So first of all, the transaction is added. When we say added, you initiate the transaction. I want to pay, so I want to do something on the blockchain. Once initiated, first we say, is it a valid transaction? If yes, you go to the pool of unconfirmed transaction. Because the pool has to get to certain extent before they can form a block. From there, they now select the transaction that can form a block. And miners will now compete by solving a puzzle. That's where you get the miners fee. Whoever solved that puzzle broadcast it through the whole network. And the other network will verify that. But what do they verify? What is the hash of this? Does it correspond with the former hashes we have? That's what we actually do. Some exchanges, they will go trade blocks. Once they go trade blocks and it's good, they allow the money to come in through you. Some goes 8 blocks, it depends. But once they go certain block and all the hashes are correct, then a new block is added to the chain, and that is confirmed. But like I said before, we have different types of blockchain, different categories actually. Next slide, please. So we have what we call the public blockchain, and that's what I've been talking about all this while. Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, for instance, are all public because anybody can go and look at the transaction. In public blockchain, you don't need anything to participate, or you just come in. So if you just get a wallet and you start transacting, nobody will approve you, nobody will do KYC, all those stuff. Just get in and get on with the transaction. That's the public modality. Then we have the private. In the private blockchain, it's like it's siloed from every other people. I'll give you an instance. CBDC is the buzzword going on now. Central bank digital currency. They are private for obvious reason because the government control is a central, it has a central authority controlling it. So you can form a private blockchain whereby only participating, you just have the kind of open to the public. And now we have the permission blockchain. In the permission, you need to be invited to use the blockchain. One good example is maybe a supply chain that's involved. Let's say pharmaceutical companies might have a permission blockchain, for instance. You have to be invited to use it. And if I want to bring this to what's going on recently, a couple of months ago, I think it's El Salvador, right? They made Bitcoin a legal tender. In fact, when I first heard that news, when I first heard that news, my first thought was, why? Really? Because remember, Bitcoin is a public blockchain. You don't control it. Nobody can shut. If government have access to shut down Bitcoin, with the whole problem going on, you know what happened before. So they adopted Bitcoin as their legal tender, and they raised so many issues. It's volatile, of course, we know that. But the most important thing is that you don't have control of your financial system. That's what it means. It's out there in the public. They're doing well, I guess. I don't know, but I think IMF, they are kicking against that. In UK recently, where there's hey, you can't use that because of so many reasons. But that's what's going on anyway. So Domineum blockchain solutions have been in the blockchain industry for a while and have performed so many operations, both within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, and have technical expertise. So the reason we got here today is because we're looking at how do we develop this solution for the consumption of people like here in Nigeria, in West Africa, and even beyond. And that's why we are forming this partnership. That's why we formed this partnership. And we are looking at this is an academic institution. Where we could leverage on students, people that are innovative, thinking of different problems. I'll give you an instance. Okay, take digital identity. Okay, take let's say credentialing, for instance. Assuming we got to a point whereby all the institutions in Nigeria, we have a standard platform whereby every credential is stored on that and it's a blockchain. So what it means is you go to another, but you want to get another school or go anywhere. All they have to do, they get your address, schedule a blockchain. If you see, oh, this is it. No need of the whole, you send this, you send that back, and all those. So it's a solution. And as we have seen, anything that happens on the blockchain, you can trace it. It's open. What about voting? Can we have a voting system that is on the blockchain? As soon as the vote is finishing, the results are coming out, and you are sure that nothing happens to it. Remember, you can go back to the chain and see every single transaction is open. Right? It could be land ownership. We have cases where somebody has been in the land for, let's say, 14 years, And one day somebody comes and says, hey, you see that land? I bought it 20 years ago. That's my sea of road. We have been here for 2 years, right? Yeah, it's my sea of road. Thus, you have to go. It has caused so many problems. Could we get a solution based on the blockchain? Where land titles are on the blockchain. You can dispute that. You don't even need to go to court again because the blockchain says, hey, look at who owns it. These are solutions. Right? So for anything, anywhere you have trouble or data can be manipulated, if you can think of any of that, think about blockchain. There will be a solution built around that, and that solution will remove it off. So it's a big thing. When I prepared this slide, we didn't want to go to the technical part. It's supposed to be a 2-day stuff. Tomorrow I'm supposed to look at more about the application of them tomorrow, and we look more at cryptocurrencies. But as of today, let me have the last slide here. Since we got it on here. I'll just point out something quite quick up here. So I mentioned the Bitcoin blockchain and I mentioned the Ethereum blockchain. The major difference between them is this. On the Bitcoin blockchain, you get up to where you have your wallet where you make your transfer. But on the Ethereum, you have another one where you can write application. So remember, Bitcoin was designed just to make transaction, nothing more. Send money, receive money, finished. That's how it was designed. But Ethereum went an extra layer. In that layer, you can now write programs that will accompany the transaction. The program can say, you are an artist, you own a digital art, for instance, and you sold it to somebody called an NFT. And you could program there, whenever they sell this thing, I want 20% of the sales to come back to me. So I sell it for you for 500,000 USD. I got my money. Now later, you sold it for, let's say, 1 million. Because there's a smart contract attached to that transaction, automatically, without asking you, my 20% come right back to me. So what it enables you is to now make quite all kind of programs that will keep executing. And remember, nobody needs to be there for it to happen. It happens automatically because it's a blockchain. And that is the power of what we have. So we're looking forward that through this partnership, we can develop different solutions, incubate startups in this university. In fact, I didn't have it here. I have a group of people together. We are building a DEX, decentralized exchange. In fact, actually, we launched the private sales today. Just a group of young guys like that, Orioles one. So I'm looking at a situation whereby right here in this city can be a foundry where all the things can go on. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.